Good morning, St. Luke's. I mentioned yesterday as we looked at Acts chapter 12, the great offence of King Herod and his subsequent judgment by God. And his great offence was to accept the praise of men, of people, as though he himself was God. That pride and that false worship, in fact, by the crowd is at the root of persecution that had been enacted against the Christians, such as James or Peter earlier in the chapter. And I made a warning to us all yesterday that as Christians we face the danger of being drawn into the divided idolatry of our own politics and culture, where we as individual Christians or indeed as the church are urged to pick a side, either worshipping the ideals of left-wing liberalism that actually have no structure or origin in the idea or the concept or the doctrine that mankind is the creation of God made in his image to reflect his glory. Or we are encouraged to pick the side of the glorification of right-wing conservatism with its appeals to nationhood, past heroes and traditions, and current leaders who supposedly uphold them, along with an economic system often that tends towards injustice. And actually that concept goes way beyond any godly submission to our earthly authorities. The true place of the church is in the middle between those two divided extremes, persecuted by both of them. Our values derive from God's character, demonstrated in his love and the mission and moral perfection of Jesus Christ. And then our allegiance is to Christ alone, who reigns in heaven over all authorities for the good of his people, the church. This is where the Apostle Paul found himself. He, in Ephesians chapter 3, verses 1, and also then at the end in verse 13, reminds us that he is a prisoner. He's a prisoner. In verse 1 of chapter 3 we hear because of Jesus Christ. He has proclaimed that Jesus is the one to be worshipped, not Caesar or any other human ruler. This was for the glory of God's people. As Paul's imprisonment demonstrates that God was on a mission. That was the most significant thing that God was doing, a mission of bringing the message of salvation in Jesus Christ to people of all races and all nations. This message is the power of salvation to those who would believe, but it is an affront to those who worship false idols and ideals. It may well be the case that it is becoming increasingly awkward to be a Christian in our nation and culture. And the temptation will be to compromise and find protection in one side or the other. However, we would do well to remind ourselves that our position in this country remains privileged in comparison to most of our worldwide brothers and sisters. And so this morning I'm going to finish by linking now to a video put together each year by Open Doors, who work amongst the persecuted Christians of the world. This video is a summary of their world watch list, the places in our globe where it is most difficult to be a follower of Jesus Christ. Might it stimulate us to give thanks for where we are in the UK church now, and also to pray for our brothers and sisters worldwide.
What would you do if your faith put you in danger? If it meant facing insults and abuse, not getting a job or education, being assaulted, imprisoned, even killed? Hundreds of millions of Christians live in countries where choosing to follow Jesus means danger and persecution. And these are the 5 countries where their faith costs the most. Number 5, Pakistan, where Christians can be falsely accused of blasphemy. They are denied education and work opportunities. Churches are bombed. Christians are jailed on false charges. But Pakistani Christians are determined to meet to worship. Number 4, Libya, where there are only some 150 Libyan Christians. Churches for Libyans are forbidden. Christian migrants are targeted, executed by militants or sold into slavery. But Libyans are coming to Christ through TV, radio, and web. Number 3, Somalia, where Christians can be killed on the spot. All citizens are assumed to be Muslims. Militant groups want to eradicate all Christians. Owning a Bible can mean instant execution. But Christians meet in secret, and many Muslims seek Christ. Number 2, Afghanistan, where Christians have to hide, even after death. Islamic extremism is everywhere. Christians are buried as Muslims because their relatives would be punished. But people still meet Christ in dreams. Number 1, North Korea, where leaders are worshipped like gods. There is no freedom. People live under constant surveillance. 50 to 70,000 Christians are imprisoned. But in prisons and safe houses, North Koreans are coming to Christ. Open Doors exists to strengthen and support persecuted Christians wherever they are and for as long as they need it. Through the gifts and prayers of Open Doors supporters, our global underground networks are able to reach millions of Christians with food and medicine, spiritual care, smuggled Bibles and Christian books, training and legal advice. Homes are rebuilt, lives are rescued, churches restored. For over 60 years, Open Doors has stood with Christians whose faith puts them in danger, who dare to share Jesus no matter the cost. Because as Christians, we are family, one body, one church. And when your family is in danger, there's only really one question to ask. What will you do?